Miggo is a cybersecurity company that is working on digital applications in the age of AI. And with me is the CEO, Daniel Shechter, to explain the company. Let's start with what it is you do, the problem here, the specific vulnerabilities. I mentioned AI. Has that introduced a whole new realm of cybersecurity problems that you have to deal with?
Yes, yes. I think that, we are living in a world where AI really introduced a lot of new vulnerabilities, or how we call it, like attack surface. But I think that the one thing that really changed is not just the new vulnerabilities. The one problem that we're really seeing today is time. Because in the age of AI, attackers became very, very, very fast. And this speed essentially associated with their ability to exploit vulnerabilities faster than ever, which means that most teams that we're still talking with are still very much focusing on the ability to know about their vulnerabilities and maybe fix it. But in the age of AI, they're potentially already being breached. And I think that the gap that we're trying to solve for is really all about the ability to say, how can I protect my systems while I'm fixing my problems, and not just knowing and fixing?
So in other words, kind of staying ahead of it, how do you do that? How does Miggo do that?
So the core thing that we kind of came up with is the ability to understand that you need to understand on the one side how attackers actually work, and to marry this with how my system actually looks like. So our approach is really about the ability to, knowing about the problem. And the way that we are doing this is, we are kind of, we created a patent pending technology that allows us to look into your system and understand exactly how, the complex intrinsics of modern system works. But on the other side, I think the more exciting part is we actually took some outstanding AI agents and we trained them based on some of the best security researchers there are, in order to take these vulnerabilities and tell you, look, what does it actually require for the attacker to do something about it? And when you marry both, I can come to you and tell you, look, in this case, it's an actual issue. In this case, it's not a real issue. But then we're doing the next thing and say, okay, so not just prioritizing, how can we help you shield against it while you're fixing the problem?
So that's really interesting. So the agents are kind of looking for vulnerabilities, I guess.
Vulnerabilities and
Yes. So walk us through the Miggo product approach. How do you identify a security issue? Then what comes next?
Yeah, so the way we're thinking about the problem is or the solution is really about how can I, first know about the problem or identify the issue, but more importantly, how can I provide you with the proof, and how can I provide you with an actionable, shielding capability? So in order to do this, as we mentioned, like we are taking in a lot of insights from the existing tools you have, and we have our own ability to kind of generate additional tools. But the interesting parts start where the AI agents are now start analyzing in order to understand how essentially the vulnerability execution would look like. So we talked about, the speed. In the same speed or even faster than the attackers, I'm analyzing how does the attack would look like in your system. And then other agents are analyzing, for example, your existing web application firewall to say, okay, this is what you can do right now in order to put a preventative control while you're fixing the problem. And I think this is the uniqueness about the approach, about protect first and then patch fast.
Okay. So I was going to ask about that. Like, how do you prioritize which vulnerabilities to fix first? And I guess you're using AI to fight AI in a way, right? Okay.
Yes, I think it's all about the ability to, because it's all about the ability to marry AI with data. Because AI, sprinkle some AI doesn't necessarily allow you to do things that you couldn't do before. But if you are training the right AI on the right data sets, and then you're providing them with the ability to understand how your system looks like, you can provide a proof. And for us, I think what we saw other tools are doing for a long, long time is, providing you with the so-called problem, which is great. But we're living in a world where the problem is not enough. Like we have so many problems to take care of. We just mentioned, in the age of AI, we have more problems to take care of. And then the question is, how can I provide you a proof that you can actually take action on?
So how does Miggo then help companies maintain compliance with all the frameworks? There's NIST, ISO, I don't know if I'm saying these all right, FedRAMP. I mean, how are you able to navigate that part of it too?
So for us, it's all about strategic risk reduction. And of course, one side of it is the ability to prevent a breach. But the other side is the ability to continuously help organization to look into their system and get a proof about, am I exposing any PII or PHI? Do I have actual vulnerabilities that the attacker can actually do something about? Because there is, again, so much noise, and when you actually provide the proof, it's the other side of and we're seeing, the risk reduction has been dramatically with some of our customers.
Okay. Well, and a lot of businesses are like, gosh, do I need another protection system? Is this overkill? What's your argument that Miggo is a system that they would need?
So it's a very fair argument. And, to come into an organization and say, okay, you spent so much time and effort and now you needed something more. I think we try to fundamentally approach it in a way that comes and say, let's take advantage of everything you already have. So we created a full agentless approach that allows us to plug into your application firewall, to your engineering tools, to your security tools, and play in very, very seamlessly as part of this orchestra right away by providing this ability to, as we mentioned, provide a proof and create a shield. So it's not just about knowing about the problem. And, of course, as time goes, we're actually seeing that some people choose to replace some of their tools with the Miggo capabilities. But at first, it's as easy as we don't have to rip and replace everything. Just come in and get more out of the tools you already have.
And are there particular industries that you work more with or that Miggo is better suited to?
You mentioned in the beginning, digital application. I think every company today that digital services or products are core part of their business is a good Miggo fit. And to be frank, I think every private and government
Which is about everybody. And then you recently had a Series A funding. So what's your current growth trajectory? What are your plans to use that capital?
Yes. And so we were very lucky, to raise another round led by Sin Ventures after the seed round that was led by Wild Ventures. And this really goes into really continuously grow and take Miggo into more and more companies within North America. So I myself moved here and still trying to get used to the New York weather. It was the coldest winter I've ever experienced. Tel Aviv is a bit hotter.
Yes.
And I think so we're hiring a lot of go-to-market people in here while continuously growing our assets and R&D team back in Tel Aviv.
And then there are some other kind of macro trends that we're seeing. Of course, we talked about AI, remote work, a lot of cloud deals I've noticed lately. Is that impacting how you do business or where you target?
So I think it impacts it. Of course, it impacts, as we mentioned. It's really one of the key, I would say, catalysts to why we're solving for this gap, and because there is something really interesting that changed in the economics of cyber. A few years ago, I think that most companies thought about cyber attacks. They were like, okay, there are the 15-year-old, 16-year-old, and there are those so-called nation-state level capabilities are there. Maybe some financial actors and so on. AI created a world where 15-year-old now can do things that 4 or 5 years ago only nation states could have done. And I think this creates a world. There was just an outstanding research this week about the costs of a vulnerability weaponization that went all the way down to around $3. It almost sounds like it's a steal. And good 15-year-old, now you can go to work somewhere in like your teenage job, but there is a great opportunity for you to do some quite outstanding cyber attacks. And within this world, and within the expansion of not just the attack surface, but the attackers, I think speed is becoming more important than ever. And for us is one of the key drivers to introduce this protect first and then pat fast.
That's kind of terrifying. So where do you see cybersecurity in the next 3 to 5 years? What are the things that people should keep an eye on? What are the threats that are coming down the road?
So I think it ties back to our the last point. I think that what we are already seeing happening is really not just, more vulnerabilities coming in, but we're seeing, the regular attacker is becoming much more sophisticated. And while I think most companies are still very much, focusing on how can I know and create this so-called like a large platform that protect everything. I think what we are seeing happening now is that there really a need for some specialty capabilities, for example, around the ability to shield very, very fast, which really requires us or the industry to not just go to the platformization, but also to add those new capabilities into your stack. Because, in order to stay ahead of the curve, I think you also need to kind of, or always need to like match or mix and match in order to get those best of platforms with those specific capabilities, like the one, like we're saying, which is helping you to shield faster than ever.
Daniel, thank you so much. You're doing important work. I think it's a fascinating field. So, and good luck on your expansion to North America. So, thank you.